Hi there, I'm Matt Keene. Welcome to Creating a Future We Want, the Evaluative Evolution series. The first in the series, an overview. This video won't be nearly as grand as those words, but it is where we are, a starting point. My wife and my two daughters, who are now 7 and 11, and I live on an island in eastern North Carolina. We started homeschooling in well, before COVID. I remember that because I remember people calling me when COVID began and were like, what was that crazy thing you said you were going to do and you're going to start, like, take your kids out of school and doing it at home? What, how do you do that? Because I need help. So we live in this lovely place. I like to garden. These are the cucumbers, meat the cucumbers. And I like surf and fishing, and yoga, and when we're not learning, although I'm terrible at turning it off. Dad, please stop lecturing us. No. My girls like gymnastics, and they like to catch critters and put them in tanks and terrariums, and reading. They read voraciously. My wife likes to boogie board, swim, bake, power projection, and we have a very, very nice life here. Part of my previous life, I was studied biology and chemistry and worked in nature conservation, ecology. A little later got into more social sciences, evaluation science, system sciences, complexity science. Sounds all very fancy. And one of the things I got really interested in about 2016, I was in a garden in Virginia, my hands in the dirt, and I heard a fella named Nick Bostrom talking about superintelligence, and I was like, what the heck is that? That sounds crazy. So got interested in the AI thing at that time, and started giving some talks and wrote a screenplay of all things, where AI was the crux of the whole thing. It's terrible, but at least I did something. After some of that previous life was coming to a close, or the denouement, I started Creating a Future We Want, which was intended to be kind of like a place to inventory, creatingafuturewe want.com, inventory like all the different projects and crazy things I was interested in and working on, and kind of just grouping things in one place, really so I could keep track of it, because who else cares? And then last year, 2022, towards sort of the end of the year, there was this I was looking for ways to kind of like fire me up to kind of work on some of the things that I was really interested in, and this competition came up that was sort of like the question they were asking. It's like, we're super smart, we can't know everything. What are the things that we should be thinking about in the development of artificial intelligence toward artificial general intelligence that we aren't thinking about enough or don't know about? And I was like, I have some ideas, because of some of my previous work. I just had a feeling that there were some aspects of social science, evaluation, ecology that were not being considered in the design and development of AI systems. So I started writing. Oh my gosh, it was like an explosion of ideas, this like crazy coming together of old ideas that I'd been kind of fiddling with and working on for years and years, and then new stuff coming up. Just one of those like creative explosions. Wonderful. The garden kind of reminds me, well, yeah, I'm reminded of starting a new garden. There was something like that. And so one of the things that I'm particularly working on with the Creating a Future We Want, I've got a little cheat sheet over here. The wind's trying to blow it away. Nature, I swear. Is learning to create a future we want. That's sort of what I call our education, our learning activities. So, yeah, our homeschooling. And I really feel like I need to know what I'm doing. I'm not just trying to get away from a traditional education system that I think, you know, was built to give us the world that we've got, not designed to enable us to create a future, or the future, a future that we want. And so there's a mismatch, right, in the way the education system is traditionally, and the one that I received, the education I received, and the one that I want our daughters and other children, families everywhere to be aware of, alternatives to that. And so I'm very focused on, like, what does it mean to be learning to create a future we want? Well, in my response to this competition that eventually blew up and disappeared, well, it blew up just like my ideation blew up as an explosion. The whole competition blew up because it was tied to the crypto industry, and that blew up, and that blew up, and everything blew up, and it's just disaster. So, but not for me. I was left with like 100,000 words of writing and all sorts of new ideas. Well, what in the world do I do with it? Well, what I realized was so much of that work was related to our homeschool effort. It was related to it was related to that mismatch, not identifying more reasons that there was a mismatch between the traditional education system and our desire to create a future we want, but related to how would we conceive of this future, vision it, and, you know, where are we likely to be headed, and how can we be more aware of that and navigate that wickedness? And it was really cool. It was like, oh my gosh, there's an enormous amount of stuff here to work with, and ended up referring to it as evaluative evolution. So in a sense, we are learning to create a future we want, right? And I believe that that is going to require an evaluative evolution. So we are learning about that in our homeschool education. So all that writing and all that work I've continued to work on. I'm going to be publishing lots and lots of essays on Substack called Creating a Future We Want, Evaluative Evolution. And this overview of that, there's an essay attached to this video, or vice versa, this video attached to an essay, where it sort of lays out some more details about what that means, or what is going to be shared via text and pictures and video. And some of those things, or sort of the order of those things, is I'm going to start out writing about, and I didn't plan on this, but writing about the garden. It's one of my passions. I always have a garden. I always grow vegetables and fruits and flowers for the sake of flowers. And there's so much, the garden is wisdom. There's going to be a bunch of essays about the garden. There's going to be a series of essays that are, perhaps, like any of this could change, I suppose, but they're titled Dear Chris. Last year I wrote 150 letters to my buddy Chris about our well-being. Well, I'm going to write just a few letters to Chris, explicitly or implicitly, about this journey and what it means to pursue an evaluative evolution. Then there's going to be a series of essays about the wickedness of a wicked world. Provocative, no? There's going to be a series of essays about the principle of our infinite ignorance and infinite abundance. A series of essays about values theory, where I sort of lay out a theory of values of nature, values of humanity, and how we might turn this theory towards our design and development of artificial intelligence, where it is, in that field they use the term aligned, as in aligning what an AI does with what we want it to do, or our human values. I don't really like that too much. I think I like the notion of coherence. I like moral coherence, so what an AI does aligned with human values, being something more like a morally coherent AI. Then a series of essays about values value signature, which is a way of assessing the collection, the constellation of values for a given entity, like a person, like what's my value signature, or what's the value signature of this garden here. Values information systems, which is sort of like, if you know what geographic information systems are, or even just maps. It's sort of like mapping values at a very large scale. So some tools, methods, approaches for doing that. Then there's a series of essays about an evaluative universe. Seriously, thinking big here, peeps. And then one called Let Us Be Saints. Basically, don't we want our descendants to think of us well instead of like those demons that lived back when and screwed up everything for us? Come on, let us be saints. My name is Matt Keene. This is the Evaluative Evolution series. It is an honor to be thinking about this, to have a way to begin sharing it. I, with love and humility, will attempt to capture just something of truth that is relevant to, at the very least, my children's and family's life, and hopefully there is something that can be extrapolated or generalized out to, the well-being of you, well-being of humanity, of nature. That is my intention. I wish you well in creating a future we want today.